Good morning, dear students. In our today's English class, we will be doing course book Unit 3, Lesson 1, The Doctor's Word. Now, this chapter is about a doctor whose words are taken like a sentence. Sentence means like a verdict, like the judge gives a verdict. Same way, this doctor, when patients were coming to him, he used to give a simple verdict whether the patient will survive or will not survive. He was straightforward. He never used to keep his patients in darkness. Now, the patients used to come to him only when they were given up hope by the other doctors, because this doctor's fees was basically very high. Now, what does this doctor do when his own friend, a very close friend, comes to him for treatment? The doctor's word. Dr. Raman is known for his truthfulness. He never tells his patients who are critically ill soothing lies. Gopal, his very close friend, is at deathbed door. He asks the doctor if he is going to live. What does the doctor say? People came to him when the patient was at the last stage. Raman left often burst out. Why couldn't you have come a day earlier? The reason was obvious. Visiting fee 25 rupees, and more than that, people like to shirk. Now, shirk means to avoid this doctor. Why they avoided? Because he was straightforward. The fact that the time had come to call Dr. Raman, for them there was something omnivorous. Now, omnivorous means suggesting that something bad is going to happen. So the doctor, now if you are going to Dr. Raman, means something is very serious. So people used to avoid him. In the very association. As a result, when the big man came on the scene, it was always a quick decision, one way or another. One way or another means whenever Dr. Raman was called, either the patient will live or die. So that was one way or the other. There was no scope of time for any kind of waving, the whitewashing. Long years of practice of this kind had bred in the doctors a certain curt truthfulness. For that very reason, his opinion was valued. He was not a mere doctor expressing an opinion, but a judge pronouncing a verdict. The patient's life hung on his words. This never unduly worried Dr. Raman. He never believed that agreeable words ever saved lives. He did not think it was any of the business to provide unnecessary hope when a matter of course nature would tell them the truth in a few hours. However, when he glimpsed the faintest sign of hope, he rolled up his sleeves and stepped into the arena. It might be hours or days, but he never withdrew till he wrested the prize from Yama's hands. Now, the writer says that Dr. Raman had so many years experience, and after so many years of experience, he thought that there is no time in wasting and telling soothing lies to the patients. He used to think that what is the sense in wasting time? Of course, within a few days, the patient will automatically come to know whether he is living or dying. So he was very straightforward. He did not believe, he never thought that if he would pacify his patients, give them consoling words, so maybe the patient may live. He never believed in such polishing or whitewashing. He always, if there was even a little hope in the survival of the patient, he would fight it out and bring the patient live. Today, standing over a bed, the doctor felt that he himself needed someone to tell him soothing lies. Now, today the doctor was in such a condition that he wanted someone to tell lies to him. He mopped his brow with his kerchief and sat down in the chair beside the bed. On the bed lay his dearest friend in the world, Gopal. They had known each other for 40 years now, starting with their kindergarten days. They could not, of course, meet as much as they wanted, each being wrapped in his family and profession. Occasionally on a Sunday, Gopal would walk into the consulting room and wait patiently in the corner till the doctor was free. And then they would dine together, see a picture and talk for each other's life and activities. It was a classic friendship standing over decades, untouched by changing time, circumstances and activities. Now this friendship of this doctor and the Gopal is called a classic friendship because it was a childhood friendship right from their kindergarten, and they wanted to spend time with one another, but because of the involvement in family activities they could not spend time with one another. So what they used to do is, Gopal used to come at the weekends and all and sit there quietly in the doctor's clinic in the corner. When doctor finished everything, then these two would go out, have dinner together, spend time together, see a movie or discuss with one another their family matters. So basically their friendship was a classic friendship. In the busy round of work, Dr. Raman had not noticed that Gopal had not called in for over 3 months now. He just remembered it when he saw Gopal's son sitting in a bench in the consulting hall one crowded morning. Dr. Raman could not talk to him for over an hour. When he got up and was about to pass on to the operation room, he called up the young man and asked, "What brings you here, sir?" The youth was nervous and shy. "Mother sent me here. What can I do for you?" "Father is ill." Now, what happened is, Dr. Raman had a very busy life and even Gopal had a busy life. So Dr. Raman did not realize that it was almost 3 months and Gopal did not come to meet him. Now one day suddenly he saw his son sitting in his clinic. Till 1 hour Dr. Raman was unable to talk to him. Now after 1 hour Dr. Raman calls for him and he asks him, "Why are you here?" He says, "My mother has sent me and father is very ill." It was an operation day and he was not free till 3 in the afternoon. He rushed off straight from the clinic to his friend's house in Loyalty Extension. Gopal lay in bed as if in sleep. The doctor stood over him and asked Gopal's wife, "How long has he been in bed?" "A month and a half, doctor." "Who is attending to him?" "A doctor in the next street. He comes down once in 3 days and gives him medicine." "What is his name?" He had never heard of him. "Someone I don't know, but I wish he had the goodness to tell me about it." Why couldn't you have sent me word earlier?" Now Dr. Raman was busy till afternoon, and after that when he rushed to his friend's house, he saw his friend lying on the bed and he made inquiries that who was treating him and why they did not call for him earlier. "We thought you would be busy and did not wish to trouble you unnecessarily." They were apologetic. Apologetic means sorry and miserable. There was hardly any time to be lost. He took off his coat and opened his bag. He took out an injection tube and the needle sizzled over the stove. The sick man's wife whimpered in a corner and essayed to ask questions. "Please don't ask questions, snapped the doctor. He looked at the children who were watching the sterilizer and said, "Send them all away from here, except the eldest." Now, the doctor started treating his friend. He started sizzling, boiling the needle, the injection and all. And he asked his wife to send everybody except the eldest son to stay there to help him. And he straight away told them, "Please do not ask me any questions." In short, in the drug sat back in the chair and gazed at the patient's face for over an hour. The patient still remained motionless. The doctor's face gleamed with perspiration and his eyelids dropped with fatigue. The sick man's wife stood silently. She asked timidly, "Doctor, shall I make some coffee for you?" "No," he replied, although he felt famished, having missed his midday meal. Famished means he was very hungry and tired because he had not eaten his lunch, but still he refused for the coffee. He got up and said, "I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't disturb him on any cost." Disturb him means don't disturb Gopal, the patient. He picked up his bag and went to his car. In a quarter of an hour, he was back, followed by an assistant and a nurse. The doctor told the lady of the house, "I have to perform an operation." Why? She asked faintly. "I will tell you all that soon. Will you leave your son here to help us and go over to the next house and stay there till I call you?" Now, the doctor had called his nurse and assistant to help him, and he wanted everybody, even the wife, to leave from the room. The lady felt giddy and sank down to the floor, unable to bear the strain. The nurse attended to her and led her out. At about 8 in the evening, the patient opened his eyes and stirred slightly in bed. The assistant was overjoyed. He exclaimed enthusiastically, "Sir, I will pull through." Sir, he will pull through. Means the assistant was very happy and he told the doctor that now patient, that is Gopal, will pull through. Means he will be able to live. The doctor looked at him coldly and whispered, "I would give anything to see him through but the heart. The pulse has improved, sir." Well, replied the doctors. Doctors trust it. It's only a false flash up. Very common in these cases. He ruminated for a while and added, "If the pulse will keep up till 8 in the morning, it will go on for the next 40 years. But I doubt very much if we shall see anything for it at all after tonight." Now, the doctor says, see, it may be a false alarm, because in such cases sometimes there is a false alarm. False alarm means we seem to the patient is improving, but the patient actually does not improve. Only there are some symptoms of improvement. Now, he says that let's see if till 8 in the morning, if he is okay, that means to say then till the next 40 years nothing will happen to him, but still we cannot say anything. He sent away the assistant and sat beside the patient. At about 11, the patient opened his eyes and smiled at his friend. He showed a slight improvement. He was able to take a little food. A great feeling of relief and joy went through the household. They swam around the doctor and poured out their gratitude. Gratitude means they were now thankful to the doctor to having saved him. He sat in the seat beside the bed, gazed sternly at the patient's face, hardly showing any signs of hearing that what they were saying to him. The sick man's wife asked, "Is he now out of danger?" Without turning his head to the doctor, said, "Give glucose and brandy every 40 minutes. A couple of spoons will do." The lady went away to the kitchen. She felt restless. She felt she must know the truth, whatever it was. Why was the great man so evasive? The suspense was unbearable. Perhaps he could not speak so near the patient bed. She beckoned to him from the kitchen doorway. The doctor rose and went over. She asked, "What about him now? How is he?" The doctor bit his lips and replied, looking at the floor, "Don't get excited unless you must know about it. Don't ask now." Her eyes opened wide in terror. She clasped her hands together and implored, "Tell me the truth." The doctor replied, "I would rather not talk to you now." He turned round and went back to his chair. A terrible wailing shot through the still house. The patient stirred and looked about in bewilderment. The doctor got up again, went over to the kitchen door, drew it in securely and shut off the wailing. Now, the patient's wife was very curious to know that what is the situation, whether Gopal will live or no. Now the doctor continuously said that, "Please do not ask me." And he even pulled the kitchen curtains so that the patient could not see his wife. When the doctor resumed his seat, the patient asked in faint whisper possible, "Is that someone crying?" The doctor advised, "Don't exert." Now the patient could hear the wife crying, so he asked, "Is someone crying?" So the doctor told him, "Don't exert yourself. You must talk. You mustn't talk." He felt the pulse. It was already agitated by the exertion. The patient asked, "Am I going?" Am I going means, am I going to die? "Don't hide it from me." The doctor made a deprecating noise and sat back in the chair. He had never faced a situation like this. It was not in his nature to whitewash. People attached great value to his word because of that. He stole a look at the other. The patient mentioned a finger to draw him nearer and whispered, "I must know how long I am going to last. I must sign the will. It is all ready. Ask my wife for the dispatch box. You must sign as a witness." Now the patient is talking to the doctor that whether I will live or no, because I want to sign a will. He wanted to sign his will and he wanted the doctor to be the witness. Now the doctor was in deep thought what he should do, because he never had the habit of whitewashing anything. Whatever was there, he was straightforward. But here in this case, he was unable to speak anything. "Oh," the doctor exclaimed, "you are exerting yourself too much. You must be quieter." He felt idiotic to be repeating it. How fine it would be, he reflected, to drop the whole business and run away somewhere without answering anybody's question. The patient clutched the doctor's wrist with his weak fingers and said, "Ramu, it's my good fortune that you are here at this moment. I can trust your word. I can't leave my property unsettled. That will mean endless mercy for my wife and children. You know all about Subhya and his gang. Let me sign before it is too late. Tell me." Now Gopal is telling Ramu, Dr. Raman, that see, it is my good luck that you are here, and I know that your word is a lot of value. If I do not sign the papers, then my family will be in a big trouble, in a big misery. And so please tell me the fact. If not, the gang, there's a rival gang who will take away my property. So I need to sign a will for my family. Yes, presently, replied the doctor. He walked off his car, sat in the back seat and reflected. He looked at his watch, midnight. If the will was to be signed, it must be done within the next 2 hours or never. Now the doctor went to the car and he sat down, and there he looked at the watch and he thought to himself that if it is the last stage for his friend, that he must sign the will, or he will never be able to sign the will. He could not be responsible for a mess. For a mess means he didn't want to take the responsibility that his friend went away without signing the papers and his family is in trouble. There he knew too well the family affairs and about those wolves, Subia and his gang. But what could he do? If he asked him to sign the will, it would virtually mean a death sentence and destroy the thousandth part of a chance to the patient that had a survival. Now, the doctor was thinking that if he asked his friend to sign the will, that means to say there is no hope of his living. So the doctor didn't want to tell him that you can sign the papers, because somewhere if he did not sign the papers, so the patient had the hope that he would live. So the doctor was in a deep thought. He got down from the car and went in. He resumed his seat in the chair. The patient was staring at him appearingly. The doctor said to himself, if my word can save his life, he shall not die. Now the first time the doctor is thinking that if my word can save his life, then I should tell him soothing lies. The will is damned. He called, Gopal, listen. This was the first time he was going to do a piece of acting before a patient, stimulate a feeling and conceal his judgment. He stopped over the patient and said with deliberate emphasis, don't worry about the will now. You are going to live. Your heart is absolutely sound. Now this was for the first time that the doctor was going to act, and he told the patient that don't worry about the will. You are going to live. A new glow stuffed the patient's face. Now there was a change in the patient's expression. As he heard it, he asked in a tone of relief, do you say so? If it comes from your lips, it must be true. Now the patient says that if it is coming from your lips, means it is true. The doctor said, quite right you are, improving every second. Sleep in peace. You would not exert yourself for any account. You must sleep very soundly. I will see you in the morning. The patient looked at him gratefully for a moment and then closed his eyes. The doctor picked up the bag and went out, shutting the door softly behind him. Now, he told the patient that you are not supposed to talk till morning, so just sleep quietly, and he left from there. On his way home, he stopped for a moment at his hospital, called out to his assistant and said that Laurier extension case, you may expect a collapse any second now. Go there with an injection and give it in case the struggle is too hard at the end. Hurry up. Now the doctor, on his way home, he went to his clinic, his hospital. From there he called up his assistant and he said, take the injection and go to the patient's house. The patient may collapse anytime, he may die. But if you find that his struggle to death is very painful, then give him an injection with which he can die peacefully. Next morning, he was back at Lorry Extension at 10. From his car, he made a dash for the sick bed. The patient was awake and looking very well. The assistant reported satisfactory pulse. The doctor put his tube and his heart, listened for a while, and told the sick man's wife, "Don't look so unhappy, lady. Your husband will live to be 90. Now, next day, it was almost at 10, he went there to the patient's house, and there he came to know from his assistant that the patient is now absolutely fine. He went there and he checked his pulse and told the wife that there is no need to be unhappy. Now you need to be happy because now the patient is going to live till he is 90. When they were going back to the hospital, the assistant sitting beside him in the car asked, "Is he going to live, sir?" "I will bet for it. He will live to be 90. He was turned the corner. Now he has survived. His attack will be a puzzle to me all my life," replied the doctor. Now the doctors, when they were going back, the assistant asked the doctor, "Will the patient live?" So the doctor said, "Yes, but his survival will always be a puzzle to me." Why? Because it was first time that he told the patient lies, and because of his lies, the patient survived. So now he was thinking that how is it possible that by telling soothing lies, whitewashing the words, a patient can live. A patient gets new life in him. So this is what the chapter is about. With this we have finished the chapter. I will be sending you the question answers.